Welcome to Bharat TV. Namaste, everybody. I'm your host, Deepika Zutshi. So all of us NRIs have at one point or another had to deal with paperwork related to our passports, our visas, our OCI cards, etc. Sometimes that paperwork can be pretty overwhelming because of a number of reasons, like complexity of the language, the understanding of the language and the processes, a lot of problems. But today we have invited Mr. Amit Kumar Sharma, who heads the Americas division of VFS Global. Now, we've all heard of VFS Global because we have all interacted with the company for our paperwork. But Mr. Sharma is here today to answer all of our burning questions and explain to us the services that his company provides to the NRI diaspora. Mr. Sharma, welcome to Bharat TV and namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you, Deepika, for the warm welcome and good day to all your viewers. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. Well, let's go ahead and dive right into it. What services does VFS Global provide? Can you tell us a little summary of that, please?
Absolutely. So, VFS Global is the world's largest organization in terms of providing solutions and services to the governments. We assist them with all the non-judgmental tasks. We provide the administrative services from front office to back office operations to IT solutions to modern day, visa sort of requirements that the governments have. We create those solutions for them. The organization, which was founded in India in 2001 by our founder and the group CEO, Mr. Zubin Kurkaria. And in 2001, he had seen that one of the challenge that in India, in Mumbai, he had seen in front of the US consulate, this long queue of people, standing and waiting for the turn to come and juggling with these paperwork and all those of questions, and he kind of see that problem and he sort of come up with this idea and he sort of created an industry in itself, So 2001 was the first time when we started working with the US consulate in Mumbai. And of course, then later on, the organization grew. And today we work with about 69 client governments in across 150 countries with more than 3,500 visa and passports application centers that we have where people can go and, lodge for their visa applications. In some cases, they can also apply for their passports or related documents. Here in US, of course, we work with about 21 client governments. We work with the government of India in the context that we are, of course, discussing this subject. People of Indian origin or the travelers who wish to travel to India can visit our centers in six locations initially that was started in US, but recently we've also launched in Seattle and Bellevue, in the context of providing these services from the ease of applicants, geographical distances are covered. They don't have to travel to different cities to apply for the visa. So in nutshell, that's what we do. That's what the solutions we provide to the governments.
Can you tell me some of the biggest services that the people of the Indian diaspora avail of from VFS?
So from Indian diaspora perspective, India in US, the diaspora is huge. It's vast. And the country itself is geographically, of course, spread out. And the diaspora connect for the embassy and the consulate is very important. It's critical for them to make sure that the services that the Indian government is offering through their embassy and the consulates is not only modern, but also very convenient and comfortable for applicants, So in that context, most of the Indian origin people, they, of course, either get their passport renewed if they're still having an Indian passport, or a lot of time people go for OCI, which is an important document for Indian origin people to travel back to India. The document does not, of course, have a sort of a validity expiry date. So these are the two services, I would say. Renewal of passport and obtaining the OCI are two top services that the people of India or the Indian origin nationals living here in US apply through our centers.
That makes perfect sense to me. In terms of ease of processes, and I've myself felt a lot of times, and we keep hearing from our target audience from this station, is that the processes are very cumbersome. So can you tell us some of the things that you guys have done to make those processes and the travel documentation easier for people?
Absolutely, and very good question. And you look back when I mentioned about 2001.
Mm-hmm.
When of course VFS came into the context of these things,
Mm-hmm.
and we
Mm-hmm.
created different solutions since then. And of course, the market has evolved. The
Yeah.
requirements have changed. The expectations
Mm-hmm.
of the consumer or the applicants, if I could say,
Mm-hmm.
have of course changed as well. The
Mm-hmm.
diaspora size has changed over the years. 20 years
Right.
back and today's diaspora in US is completely
Right.
on a different level. And in that
True.
context, what I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned in my opening remarks as well, where
Mm-hmm.
people were standing outside a consulate in a queue, those days have
I've
gone
done that.
completely. Yeah, those
I've
days,
done
those
that in
days have
Delhi.
absolutely. Those days have gone. At
Yeah.
VFS centers now, you can imagine, I can tell you the list of solutions that we have created over the years
Mm-hmm.
is as comfortable as you can opt for a service from your home, from the comfort of your home or your office.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we have a product called VAYD, Visa at your doorstep. So if you choose
Mm-hmm.
that product, our team of course, experts,
Mm-hmm.
staffs visit that address, whether it's the home address or the office address of the applicant,
Mm-hmm.
complete the entire process at their home, take the
Mm-hmm.
biometric enrollment. It's
Right.
all under the surveillance of CCTV cameras. The entire process is recorded. It's
Wow.
absolutely safe and secure and very
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. So that's of course the sort of a height of you can imagine the consumer's expectation and then deliver a solution to that. Then we've got
Exactly.
solutions like premium lounges, where you visit our centers and you have a dedicated, of course,
Yeah.
area for those applicants. We've created the appointment systems where you can take your appointment in advance. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to wait in the queue. You go on
Mm-hmm.
the exact time that you have selected for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We've created solutions like pre-check, which means before you visit our centers, you can get all your documents checked electronically through our
Online,
team.
right?
You are
Mm-hmm.
completely de-risking the fact that your documents are not complete.
Mm-hmm.
That you have to come back. So pre-check is also there. Digital document check is also there. So all these
Mm-hmm.
solutions over the years we have created, of course, in close coordination with our
Mm-hmm.
respective client governments partners, and of course
Mm-hmm.
from the feedback from the people also. That
Right.
what more they want. And once
Mm-hmm.
we understand that in today's time, of course, there are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of expectations from the applicant's perspective to make sure the
Mm-hmm.
technology is used in a right way to kind of curate new solutions which are not
Mm-hmm.
only comfortable and
Right.
convenient but also very very secure in nature. So
Mm-hmm.
our motto is always customer delight. We want to make sure it's not only the customer satisfaction but customer delight. We want to make sure that every applicant who is planning to travel abroad through our
Mm-hmm.
centers or
Mm-hmm.
wanting to renew their document, whether it's passport or OCI, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have to go through a cumbersome process. The
Right.
process itself take them through the entire journey, and journey is comfortable for them.
Right. What a great solution to a very, very painfully felt pain point, even personally for me. So thank you for stating all the things that you've done. One thing you mentioned just now was security. Security of data. You obviously handle some very, very sensitive personal information of people. Tell me a little about your data security efforts and how do you keep everything private and secure and confidential?
Absolutely, absolutely, and an important question once again. In this context, it's very important to also understand the role of VFS in a way. What is our role? What do we do? A lot of people probably will have this perception of that we kind of retain a lot of data because we are, of course,
Right.
accepting your application, we are processing that, but we don't.
Right.
We don't retain any data with us. We only process the data. We only
Mm-hmm.
process the data. We transfer the data to the government, and
Mm-hmm.
once the entire application is completed,
Mm-hmm.
that data get purged from our system automatically. But even then, of course, the processing of data is critical. It's very very
Mm-hmm.
important, and we are in compliance of whether it's GDPR, whether it's Spain National Act, or from the UK Cybersecurity Act. We are in
Mm-hmm.
compliance of all these benchmark, industrial benchmark that we have. We've set the standards really high for us in
Mm-hmm.
that sense. And secondly, what we have also done over the years, we have invested into this. We have invested into our technological advancement, security and safety of data. One
Mm-hmm.
from the perspective of what we are processing, and second from the perspective of physical, of course, data point as well. So all our processes that are conducted in our centers, everything
Mm-hmm.
is under the surveillance of CCTV cameras. There are,
Mm-hmm.
of course, the corporate security team or the
Right.
infosec team are always
Mm-hmm.
in control of that. We have also had sustainable and continuous audits from our client governments. So we do our internal audits where the
Mm-hmm.
data retention and data security is one
Right.
key element of that. And
Right.
also we have regular audits from our client governments who want to make sure
Mm.
that all the processes are followed as described in our contracts with them. So
Right.
we don't retain any data, and all the processing of data is very secure with VFS.
Oh, wow. Very good to know and very comforting, I'm sure, for the audience as well as me to know that, our data is secure in your hands. Thank you for explaining that. I want to quickly touch upon one very interesting aspect of NRI life, which is going to the counselor camps. There are a lot of Government of India has these counselor camps in different cities in the country. Tell us a little about these counselor camps and tell us a little bit about the volumes that you've seen and what do you expect to
Sure.
see happen in these camps.
Sure. So, counselor camp is sort of a, I would say, is an extension of a consulate or an embassy or VFS in that
Mhm,
sense,
mhm,
for a temporary period of time. As
mhm,
I mentioned earlier, the country is so big, and the
mhm,
diaspora is, of course, well spread out the entire country, and you want to make sure that you address their needs. And
right.
diaspora is becoming like very essential for every government to have a good connect with. So what
Mhm,
we do in the consular camps. It's first of all done in a close coordination with the consulate and the embassy, and
mhm,
of course with interacting with several associations or of course the key groups that
mhm,
maintain the diaspora connect. So the consular camps are done in the locations where the embassy or the consulate is not present physically,
mhm,
or where
mhm,
the VFS is also not having any physical office, to make
mhm,
sure that those people do not have to travel to apply
mhm,
for their passport or visa.
mhm,
VFS and the Consulate of India and Embassy of India,
mhm,
we consistently do the consular camps throughout the year across
mhm.
US. And
Right.
this in short, this has been a real success, because
Mhm.
when the applicants see that, it gives them great amount of convenience and comforting them a
Yes.
lot, that VFS and consulate people are
Mhm.
together at the same place, very close to their own location where they're residing.
Yeah.
It gives them great amount of comfort. They don't have to take the day offs for apply for a passport or for a visa. And
Yeah.
over the years, last 2.5 years, if I can give you the number, in
Mhm,
2022 we did about
mhm,
25 counselor camps throughout the year. In
mhm,
23 we took that number to 35. This year, by now, we've already done about 30 counselor camps, and there's one
mhm.
quarter still to go. The festive
Right.
season is coming for India, so this is like a peak season for us.
Heavy
Last
traffic.
quarter,
Yeah.
yeah, heavy
Mhm,
traffic, and they have been successful. Over the years, we have accepted more than 20,000 applications each year only in the counselor camps. And this is also, of course, you see from the perspective of the government, that's a very
mhm.
well thought of act done.
Yeah,
Because they
for
are
sure.
making sure the people of their diaspora is well attended
Mhm,
to, and it has
mhm.
been a good success for the diaspora as well.
Right. Oh, for sure. It's, I've myself seen how successful these camps are, and people feel, again, it goes back to the comfort and the ease of the processes, and that's very important to a lot of people. Um, Tell me a little bit about, you mentioned the Seattle
Mhm.
office that just opened up. Tell me a little bit about your expansion plans and what else are you doing? You said you already have 6, 7 locations. Any immediate future expansion that you can share with us?
Sure. So we in US, we overall we are present in about 11 locations. From
Uh-huh,
East Coast to West Coast. All of the
mhm,
the big locations are covered in that.
uh-huh,
For the government of India, we operate in 6 locations before, and now recently with the launch of the consulate here in Seattle,
uh-huh,
we started our center, one in Seattle, one in Bellevue. Again,
uh-huh,
the discussion point here was that there is a great amount of people from the diaspora who live in close proximity to Bellevue. So rather than only having a center in Seattle, we made sure we created a center in Bellevue as well. Going
uh,
forward, of course, we have plans to expand further in close
mhm,
coordination with the embassy and the consulate as the requirement comes up. And
uh-huh,
we will also continue to focus on the consular camps, because
mhm,
one is the creating the physical structure is one
mhm,
thing, but consular camps also gives you a great amount of flexibility, because
mhm.
you're not investing into a physical structure in one place, and
Right.
you don't have the volume coming up, and then you are thinking about what to do with this. But
Mhm.
counselor camps are sort of win-win for everyone. It is a
Right.
win-win for the applicants, more importantly,
Mhm,
because that is the key for us. We want to create a solution which is
mhm,
useful for the end consumer, which is the applicant here, right? And which is
mhm.
also useful for our client governments, partner governments. So our plan, of course, continue to be to work on an expansion plan for India and for the rest of the countries here in US. And
Uh-huh.
secondly, of course, to focus on the counselor camps and increase the frequency of those as well, making sure we are covering the US across, from that perspective also.
Right, right. And that sounds fantastic. What a way to listen to feedback from your customers and you reach them where they are at. Beautiful. Thank you. And I know we are close on time, but I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions. Tell us, what other things have you done to reach out and to stay in contact with the diaspora community? Are there any outreach efforts that you have done?
So, diaspora is critical for us. One,
Mhm.
simply because of few reasons. One, of course, you get the feedback from the diaspora.
Mhm.
We wouldn't be here if we don't listen to the feedback. Because
True.
over the last 20 years, of course, as I mentioned, the organization has evolved. We've created so many solutions. We have
Mhm.
curated the sort of working hours that works for people. All of that is done after, of course, certain feedbacks from the community, right? You listen to them,
Mhm.
you meet them, and you listen to them and their thoughts, what they want. And for us, it's very critical that we stay in close contact with the diaspora, because which is a, of course, very very organic way of getting the feedback. So you listen from them directly. So we, of
Right.
course, participate in all the most of the events that the diaspora organizes,
Ah.
across US.
Mhm.
And we go
Mhm.
there, we talk to the people. I mean, there is a great amount of presence there from various stakeholders point of view, and we meet
Mhm.
them and we interact with them. Second way is, of course, the consulates and the embassies also have their own
Right.
forum to interact with the diaspora, so we get that filtered feedback from them as well, which is
Mhm.
critical for us. In addition to that, of course, every time we do the counselor camps, that's become a town house for us. It's a kind of a
Right.
town hall, right? Open town hall. If
Right.
people come and talk to us about our services, we ask them, this is what we are doing, what more we can do for you, please let
Uh-huh.
us know. So
Right.
connect with the diaspora, feedback through the embassy and the consulates,
Mhm.
counselor camps. In addition to that, of
Mhm.
course, people can, there is a formal way of sharing your feedback through voice of customer, through our call center and website and email.
Mhm.
All of that is, of course,
Right.
collated by our central team,
Mhm.
which is the customer focused completely. And then, of course,
Mhm.
we create these solutions.
Mhm. Um, the very, very interesting and very well thought out plan to reach people. That's your, primary audience.
Yeah.
Um, so again, one interesting question that I have, and that's non-NRI specifically related, but in general, people who want to travel to India. What are some of the travel trends that you've seen post-COVID that have change the way you do your business or do your processes and work? Are there any trends that have recently post COVID surfaced that you've been noticing in travel to India?
Sure. So travel, of course, after COVID, is now fully recovered, and I
Mhm.
can say that 2023 was the full year where you can say the travel is fully recovered,
Mhm.
because end of
Okay.
21, 22, partial travel was still there. Some countries had opened up the travel, with
Mhm.
some conditions, whether you
Mhm.
have sort of vaccination done or you have the test done within like 24, 48 hours before your travel. But 23
Mhm.
was the first full year when the travel was completely opened up, and you started comparing those volumes to 2019 before COVID, after COVID
Mhm.
period. And
Mhm.
I'm very pleased to say that 23, of course, we kind of overachieved. The travel had kind of overachieved the numbers of 2019. So more people traveled in 23 as compared to 19. The
True.
trend is continuously, of course, improving in 24 as well. The
Mhm.
business meetings, the students, and all of
Mhm.
that is completely back. And we kind of, there was a year and a half when people were doing everything on Zoom practically, right? Zoom or
Right.
Teams or different virtual
Right.
platforms, right? And
Mhm.
23, 24, now people are sort of catching up that deficit, and they're
Mhm.
making sure. And of course, there was a period of revenge travel as well. In 23, we called it a revenge. The industry was calling it as a revenge travel, right? So
Correct.
people are now traveling more because they
Uh-huh.
couldn't travel for a year and a half. And, those
Correct.
numbers have come back. And if you look at the leading organization, whether it's WTTC or, the
Mhm.
other world banks, etc., they are
Mhm.
projecting sort of solid numbers for travel revenue in that context. So I think
Mhm.
the travel industry will continue to grow this year as well as coming year also.
Great, and more good news for you, more business. Last but not least, Mr. Sharma, I do want to ask you, do you have any tips or tricks that you would like to share with our viewers? Somebody who is getting ready to apply for either OCI or a visa to India. Do you have any back-end tips or tricks that you would like to share? And what should they know and be aware of before they
Yeah.
start the process?
Sure. And travel is an experience, and
Yeah,
you don't want to go wrong with an experience that you are looking forward to. So
yeah,
we just tell people that first of all, plan in advance. That's very important when it comes to travel. Because if
good
you're applying for a
advice.
visa, and
Yeah,
if you already booked your tickets and if you already booked your hotel, but you do not have a visa and a passport, that's quite sort of a thing to cover, right? So
right.
you want to make sure you apply well in advance, because you don't know how much time an embassy and consulate can take to the processing, because there's several factors in that. They do a lot of
Mhm,
verification, etc.
mhm.
They have their
Right,
peak season, which you may not be aware of, right, when you're applying.
right,
So first thing I tell
right.
people, plan in advance. Apply in
Yeah,
advance, plan in
yeah,
advance, and make sure that you're applying your visa and passport, and you don't get into yourself into a crunch situation where you're running
sure,
short on time. Second thing is
correct.
very important on the documentation. It's very simple. They can just visit the VFX website. All the
Mhm,
documents are listed there, and they just have to
mhm,
make sure all the documents are there. There's no need to go to any third party. The process is very
mhm,
transparent, very clear. In case
mhm.
the websites are not comfortable, people can give a call to the call center, or they can
Yeah,
just simply walk into our center. It's free of cost. They can ask any question they want, right? So these are the things I would say. I mean, plan, travel in,
yeah,
apply in advance, look for the process, and make sure that
yeah.
you're applying your visa and passport in advance.
Mhm. Yeah, great advice. Thank you so much. And Mr. Sharma, we know you're a busy guy. We really thank you for coming to Bharat TV and sharing solutions to our what are very, very obvious pain points for our NRI diaspora. So thank you so much. And we hope to see you again.
Thank you so much, Deepika ji, and it was of course great pleasure to talk to you, and all the very best. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. And to our viewers, I hope you enjoyed this conversation, but also you were informed from this conversation. As Mr. Sharma said, don't hesitate if you ever have any questions. Go to the website. If you can't, call them, call centers. There is help there, out there for you if you ever need it. So thank you for joining us today, everybody, and we will see you again soon. This is your host, Deepika Zutshi. Namaste.